Hi everybody, Emily here for Hip Kit Club using the stunning May kit. This has to be my favourite kit ever from Hip Kit Club. Absolutely love the colours, love the patterns, love everything about this kit. I can't get enough of it, to be honest with you. So I've created this layout using this month's recipe. So we had to use a white cardstock background. We were to use some tags, we were to use some stitching, some stamping, a very large title. I think that's it, the top of my head. I decided to do my very large title with these papers from the stamp market. I love these papers. Absolutely love that collection from the stamp market. I never knew about the stamp market until this kit, and I must say I absolutely adore those products. Gorgeous collections, super great quality. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that's one of the great thing of being part of a kit club, is that you get to discover brands, and if you don't like them, it's all right. There's not a lot of it in your kit, but at the same time, it allows you to discover new things that you wouldn't have heard about any other way. So I went through the text that was that handwritten kind of typo, and I decided to go with create more art. I've got several photos of Sophia drawing, especially lately with her using the chalk pen on the window. I have invested on a blackboard easel since, but she still loved drawing on a window. So I decided to go with that, and I thought I wanted to double the art word with the kind of stencil paper. In pink and white that you can see I'm cutting off right now, and I thought I would just layer it, and it kind of reinforce that art really kind of feel. I am now pulling out the white cardstock that came from the cardstock kit, and I am marking the middle of the page. I decided to go for a sort of false mirror-y effect. I don't even know how to really quite name it. I gonna have on the left hand side the bottom, and then on the right hand side I'm gonna have the top of it. So it's kind of a false quadrant effect. And I decided to create a little tiny bit of a very light mixed media background. I used very little amount, so I didn't feel the need to prep my paper with any sort of gesso, and it was fine. It's so light that you don't really see it. What I did is I took a tissue paper and I dabbed it very lightly into the ink that I had dissolved with a tiny bit of water, and that kind of bring a light inky background through the Vicky Boutin stencil. I am now pulling out the Nouveau embellishment mousse that were part of the April hip kit, and I'm dissolving it. I think it was April. Anyway, I'm dissolving it with a little tiny bit of the Primer watercolor drops that were part of, I think, the March kit, or vice versa. So I'm mixing it so that to bring a little different kind of pink, and I'm not mixing it fully well so that it would have a bit of a shading effect. I've put it through the same stencil. I am now cutting my tags in half at different height because I knew that I would want to layer it. I'm going to have the top of the tags off on the right hand side of my layout and the bottom of the tags on the left hand side of my layout. I wanted to make sure that, so the different height of the tags, it helps to make them more visible when I layer it, but it also creates a little bit more of visual interest when they're layered, because they're not all at the same height and it looks a little bit less like blocks, and it makes it look like more of a different texture when it's layered. It's just visually more appealing, I feel. I think this is the thing with mixed media, is as you layer on top of it, some of it disappears, and the mixed media created on the right hand side of my layout very quickly disappear, and I think there's just a tiny little bit that's visible, but I love the effect and I love how it looks. I then remove the bit of washi tape that I had there for just visual effect, just a visual aid, and I use washi tape especially for that purpose, so that I would be able to remove it very, very easily. I'm now playing with a photo, and that was a photo of Sophia doing some colouring book, and I thought it was too big for my layout and I didn't quite like how it worked, so I printed another one of Sophia, which was of her drawing with the chalk pen onto the window, and I made it smaller so that it would fit my layout properly. I then put it slightly underneath the tags so that it's kind of part of the whole thing. I'm losing the mixed media that I've created, but I'm okay with that because there's still a tiny peekaboo of it, and we've got plenty of mixed media on the bottom left side. I am now having, the photo frame. So on the recipe we had to use a photo frame, and I had this kind of layer frame cut out from one of the bits from the cut apart sheets from the Sun Market, and I decided that would be my photo frame. So I'm gluing that behind the photo and behind the tag. It still bring the eye to that area, and it, I think, answer that ingredient of the frame for that recipe. So this is the stage where I start to try and add a bit more details. I always see my layout in two parts. There's always the foundations, which is what I've done until now, and now it's the decorating. It's a bit like when you build a house. You build the house, the walls, and what is the foundation of the house in some ways, just like the basic, and then you've got that second stage where you decorate and you choose all the little things that make a house a home. And this is this that I call in my layout. So I did the foundation, is where I've got the basic of the layout, so the basic papers, the photo, my title, and then this is where I start to add what makes my layout personal and special and pleasing to the eye, and something that I enjoy to look at. So that's our second stage, and I'm adding a bit of fussy cut flowers. As I'm placing them, there are bits that I had left on that as you can see, that I'm removing, but I'm placing somewhere else and making it work in that way. And I've noticed that with this layout I did that quite a fair amount, where I fussy cut the flowers with the leaves attached, and when it comes to placing it, it needs the leaves to maybe be removed and placed somewhere else so that it work all together. And that's okay. That's something that you don't have to leave the leaves and certain maybe buds or whatever where they were. You can cut them off and move them somewhere else where it works better. I'm going through several of the Amy Tangerine bows, and once I've chosen the one that fits the best, with the colours, the rest of the layout, I put a handle of a paintbrush through each hoop so that it creates the volume again. I am then going through some of the ephemeras, and I've chosen this captured tag, which I'm placing onto my layout. I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers stapler to attach it to my layout in the middle of the layout. However, it's not solid enough, so I'm just adding a little bit of glue behind it to make sure that it stays in place. I am now looking at those little embellishment flowers. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, and I want to add that volume to my layout. However, before placing them, I went to stitch the middle of my title, so it's just one clean line of stitching because I knew I wouldn't be able to stitch it if I placed my those little flowers first, because they add such a great amount of volume. I am then deciding to add the little final touch, and went with some pattern paper behind some torn edges at the bottom right and the top left of my layout. It just is that tiny extra details that I think make all the difference in the layout. I tried to use the rainbow strip at first, but it wasn't wide enough, and I love that blue and I wanted to feature it on one of my layouts at some point, and I thought this was the perfect opportunity because it's not a massive piece of layout. I think it would be too much with that pattern if I used a bigger area. But just those little peekaboos of paper is just the right amount for my layout. I am now stamping the date on which the photo was taken, and I am adding my journaling explaining what Sophia was doing in that photograph. I'm adding one tiny last final touch by sprinkling very quickly some diluted ink from the stamp market across my layout. I do protect my photo, well, I remember to protect my photo at some point, and that's it. I was happy with it, and this is my final layout. I hope you enjoyed the process. Please leave a comment if you have any question, and thank you for watching. Bye.